go ahead and record now. I figured that today will be a bit more interesting because I thought that since you made things and I made things, we could talk about creative bankruptcy in fantasy. Because I'm sure you've seen... Are you on Twitter or no?
Not if I can help it, but I do have a Twitter account.
Yeah, it's been a pretty spicy day, but I figured that you and I, with an actual proper tactic and not me trying to waffle through a chat, which was shameful of me, I figured we'd talk about creative bankruptcy in mainstream fantasy, because it seems like, I don't know, man, it seems like that with like the small-time creators, there's always this bustling, bright, fruity, like venue of fantasy stuff coming out. Well, it seems like mainstream fantasy is always the same thing, and it's kind of been watered down, and it's kind of being used for other purposes.
Well, people like to play it very safe, and other people, since they can't get their stories out, like to grab other people's stories and just fanfic it.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. So I figured we start with a more easy topic. Like, have you watched the Netflix Witcher series?
I gave up on season 2 after, I think, on episode 3.
Really? Why is that?
It was boring.
It definitely paled in comparison to the pace of the video game, for sure. And of course, there were obvious things done to the show that weren't in line with the video game. But
I think I looked at my wife and she goes, "Remind me again, but didn't Eskel live through the books?"
Yeah, yeah. It's always those things like I don't understand, like The Witcher, a slam dunk. I mean, they even have the right actor to play The Witcher, but they just can't fucking help themselves, can they?
Well, Geralt, there's issues with Geralt, and not that Geralt's a bad character. The issue is you need somebody along with him because you're not supposed to relate to Geralt. He's supposed to be alien, but they put too much emphasis on secondary characters rather than Geralt plus sidekick.
Yeah, like it did seem like it kind of reminded me of what they did to Boba Fett in the show, where he got kind of sidelined by other characters. And from what I hear, the same thing they're going to do in the Halo movie too, where they're going to kind of have Master Chief there, but then there's always also this random side character that's actually the main focus of the thing.
I don't think anybody knows what they wanted to do with the Boba Fett movie, because Boba Fett wasn't in one episode and he was in the next episode for 5 minutes.
Yeah, like the best episodes didn't feature Boba Fett in Big Mandalorian.
I don't think that was a full season. I don't think they had a script for Boba Fett.
It like I enjoyed it, but it did feel heavily disconjointed and not like together. Like the first 3 episodes, I was like, all right, I'm vibing, this is nice, and then it started getting really fucking rocky, like Turbulence, on all the other episodes.
From past experience, it looked like they rushed them to production before the script was finalized.
But what I can't figure it out. Like they have these slam dunk fucking franchises like The Witcher or Mandalorian or saying Star Wars or all these others, and they just can't help fuck it up. And I don't understand why they hate money, because when you look at it, I mean, they just redid The Matrix. Like, it seems like that Hollywood doesn't want new things. They're being too safe. Know what I mean? Too safe.
Yeah, I mean, the Matrix, nobody wanted to be in the Matrix. It was obvious that nobody wanted to be in the Matrix. They even made shots about why they made the movie, because they said if they didn't make the movie with everyone involved, they were just going to remake the movie without everyone involved.
Mm-hmm. And I just don't get why they, like, if they were go on YouTube for 5 seconds, they could find an original story. Like, one I always like to point out, you know what Has Been Hotel is?
Vaguely, I don't watch. I don't watch a lot of stuff like that.
Well, more or less, Pop had this golden goose egg in her hand, right? This entirely original concept with their own voiced actors, a thriving YouTube page. And then we all learned she sold out to Hollywood. And it's like, when you're in, like, I am terrified of creators like that being bought up by Hollywood. Hollywood can't help but fuck up whatever the hell they're touching.
But also, in their defense, if Hollywood offers us enough money,
Yeah. I mean,
you can't. If they suddenly put you, they give you a 7-digit offer. Most people can't turn that down because that'll feed them and their family for a very long time.
and that's the double-edged blade of it too, because I mean, they can get you rich, and I'm pretty sure Pop is now like probably a millionaire at this point. But it's one.
I mean,
No, go ahead.
it reminded me of there was a game. It's long dead, but Drop Zone Commander. If you were ever familiar with that game.
I do know Drop Zone Commander. Yeah.
Okay, the guy got his money, got his Kickstarter, gave everybody everything, made way more money than it needed to make the game, and then he stopped. And people were upset because he had made millions on Drop Zone Commander, and he decided to just abandon the project. And people, you got to keep doing it. It's like, no, I don't. I have made all the money I needed to make to do this game, and I can walk away from it. He's like, but you owe us. He goes, I fulfilled all of my contractual obligations to you. I don't owe you anything, and I can walk away from my own creation whenever I want to. And that is something that a lot of people, we want to see the stuff keep going.
Yeah.
But occasionally, Gary Larson walked away from the Far Side.
That's true.
And like some people, some people get tired of doing what they're doing, or they make enough money and then they don't want to, they've reached the point of diminishing returns. They know if they keep making something, it's not going to be good. We don't know, the person who made Has Been Hotel, we don't know how many hours they were putting in. I'm just going off of generic stuff. I've never seen an episode. I've only know the name. We don't know how much work they were putting in. We don't know how much time they were doing. We didn't know how much time it's taking away from their family. And somebody goes, I'll give you $1 million to take that off your hands.
And I mean, at that point, why not, right?
Yeah. So without knowing the entire backstory, it's kind of hard to, sometimes, Hollywood will buy the rights to something and completely screw it up. Or the best example I can think of is the Mortal Kombat movie, the first one.
They're also
you had the plot already written.
Yeah.
Or Doom. And it's like, okay, well, we're gonna make it like in space and Mars, and it's like we're gonna have all these demons and a team of Marines, and we're gonna like teleporting. It's gonna be genetic mutations. And what do you think? I think you need to find J.J. Watt, give him a big fucking gun, and have him shoot demons for 90 minutes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like,
that's kind of like the campy side of things, which I honestly don't mind as much per se, but at the same time, in your those things usually have a rabid fan base, like Doom or Mortal Kombat or what have you, and I don't understand why they're given this cash cow. They just somehow shove their fucking foot in their mouth. I don't get why they do that. And the biggest example right now is The Lord of the Rings, the new series they have coming out on Prime Video, The Rings of Power.
Yeah,
and
I've seen the reactions, and I've listened to some of the Tolkien fans, and they said some stuff that I found disturbing.
Well, it's just like, for instance, the dwarves. I don't mind dark-skinned dwarves. I think it's a great concept, but you got to do it right. Like, for what it seems like right now, we don't know the writing or anything, but it seems like just kind of shoehorning it in there. I mean,
well, from what various websites have said and various YouTube channels, they bought the rights to 150 pages of the Silmarillion. That's it. That's all they can play with for 5 seasons. And they paid $1 billion for that.
$1 billion? Jesus.
Yes. Amazon spent like $1 billion for a few chapters of the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
And, okay, like taking everything out. You can make this, about anything, but that story's going to get stretched. There is no way that they can turn something around like that with that little. Well, granted, it's Tolkien, so they've got a lot more to work with than most authors.
Well, the thing is, if it's going to spend $1 billion just on rights, why gamble with a Northern European setting? That's what I don't understand. Like, you're going to piss off a lot of people because they're going to see identity politics in it. You know what I mean? But, like, if you have the writing done well, like, there could be dwarves and elves from, like, a place along the equator who pop up for a visit. I mean, you can do that, no problem. But
well, it's also. I mean, I looked at the dwarf queen. She doesn't even have peach fuzz.
yeah, people are mad she doesn't have a beard. Well, the funniest fucking things.
Well, no, I mean, some people. Yeah, some of the people were making jokes like, "What is she? 40? What is this, like dwarven child born?"
Because you can zoom in, and she has some kind of fuzzy lamb chop thing going on. But technically, in the lore, the women have full size beards.
Aragorn even points out, and he's like, when Gimli's talking about, most people don't believe, never seen a dwarven woman. It's like, and then Aragorn points out, he goes, it's the beard. Yeah.
Yeah. And
again, I think that most of these are like fan fiction or self inserts. I mean, they turned Galadriel into a warrior queen. Not Galad, Galadriel.
Like, are they trying to, like, prettify the Silmarillion or something? Or, like, I mean, it's definitely a tough book to read because that thing is lore heavy with everything it does.
It's a Bible.
It is a Bible. It's very much like a Lord of the Rings lore Bible. But, like, I don't understand. It's kind of like,
yeah. They spent $250 million a season for 5 seasons.
They already have 5 seasons planned.
Yeah,
this is like a 3 season.
They have the rights for 5 seasons at $250,000 a season. So $1 billion and a quarter.
But it's like, look at the thing. I don't understand why they're taking certain directions with it. It's like speaking of like, what I was trying to talk on or trying to hold this thing I'll be around is kind of creatively bankrupt. Like, they're not doing the work and making things make sense. Like, usually when you're designing something like races or species, it got to make some kind of sense. You can't have Space Marines from Nocturne who have onyx skin hanging out on like the Space Wolf planet. It's not going to work out well. They're going to be vitamin D deficient. It's always like dwarves live underground. That's why they're pasty as shit, because there's no sunlight. And like, they could have a huge, awesome above ground Karaz where it's got like sunlight coming in. It's down near like the equator, lots of sunlight. That'd be actually kind of cool to see like a dark-skinned dwarven culture, kind of like Egyptian dwarves or Numidian dwarves. That'd be actually kind of cool. But for what it looks like, this is all in the same like Northern European setting, and I just don't understand why they're doing it that way. If you want dark-skinned anything, it's got to follow the reasons why. I mean, it's why the Irish are, like I said in my Twitter page, pale as shit, because there's no sun up there. It's all clouds. It's just, whenever they inject these things, it always follows bad writing. It almost always does. I mean, the pattern has been around forever now. And I just can't figure out why I cannot figure out why they would do it like that.
Large part of it is they throw it in front of groups to review to see what they like, and they throw it in front of focus groups. And other times they'll buy something and they won't realize when they're buying it that what works on a cartoon or what works in a book doesn't work in a live action movie. Okay, I don't watch anime, but I'm familiar with Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
and I know the character Faye Valentine. People were complaining about the costume change.
Yeah,
And then the lady that did the costume came out with a really good explanation that they should have led with, because then it made perfect sense.
What was your explanation?
There is not enough glue, or there's not enough money in the budget to buy the glue necessary to keep that woman from making this an R-rated show. Okay, anime physics can keep that shirt on her in high action scenes with that little fabric. Reality, she would be popping a boob every time she did a spin kick.
Like, there are cosplayers who did pull off the outfit just fine, which also was an argument from the fans. At the same time, those cosplayers weren't doing spinning high kicks and doing gun battles on screen. I can buy into that particular excuse for not having that particular outfit.
I've been involved with theater for years, and yes, you have to make exceptions for costumes when you have to do an action scene. Mm-hmm. Because a bikini top, especially something like that Faye was wearing, which was like very loose but very skimpy.
She has suspenders, bro.
Yes, I know, and they're not going to keep the boobs in.
But the anime said.
Yeah, like there's a reason why there's cartoon physics and there's reality physics. But there's a lot of costume changes that are because if you're doing practical, you can't have certain costumes because it just doesn't work. So, but they needed to explain that first and say that if I go too far to the left or the right, I've got a major nip slip.
Well, that and not try and light your whole fandom on fire. We're trying to explain why you're not doing it that way as well. Doesn't really help when you attack people who are going to be paying for the stuff. That's one thing I never really understood. There are, Cowboy Bebop and anime in general it's a huge like cult almost. Same way there's like a Lord of the Rings cult, there's a Cowboy Bebop cult, and those people are going to be paying the most of the money to go see and buy the show, the merch, etc., etc. Why would you want to try and alienate that main fan base? It seems like, well, not with everything, but most things, they're trying to appeal to a much smaller percentage of their fan base that aren't the main moneymakers / whales / whatever of the series. And I mean, are they trying to prove a point? Are they trying to break the mold? Or I don't understand what their main drive is for the things they do, especially in The Witcher, Lord of the Rings, Book of Boba Fett. I mean, Mandalorian was a sell Grogu merch, obviously. That's the
the second season of The Mandalorian was the spin-off season. It's like, hey, here's a new character. Would you like to see them in their own show? Then we'll go to the next one. Would you like to see them in their own show?
Yeah.
But a lot of these people, especially with the Hollywood types, don't like to be told no. And when the fans say, hey, this doesn't look right, people will get upset. I think one of the shows that came out that got a lot of backlash, that I haven't seen it, but I've got friends that love it, was the Teen Titans show.
Ah, yes, when they changed the entire animation style and the storyline.
Well, the live action.
Oh, the live action. Oh,
yeah.
Ah, oh my God.
And somebody is like, yeah, I didn't really care for it. And he's like, there's friends like, you got to watch it, man. It's actually good. It's like, yeah, but the trailer, and like this number one fan's like, yeah, the trailer was shit. Okay, I will not defend the trailer, but whoever put that trailer together needs to be fired because they could have shown so much else to make the show look better. But there's a lot of these people that, especially, like they see on Twitter, and it's like, okay, I'm in charge of this, and now I'm doing this, and it's like, okay, it doesn't look that good. Well, screw you.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody take his, Twitter away from him and let somebody else speak and try to explain, because people will understand if if somebody comes out and says, okay, practically, this thing is not easy to do. Or the guys that talk about why there's not a lot of Transformers in the Transformers movie, because it's like, I think like $8 million a second to have Optimus Prime on screen.
All the CGI, yeah.
Yeah, the CGI is insanely expensive. The same thing with the Godzilla movies. And it's like, well, why don't we have more Godzilla? Because it's a lot harder to CGI Godzilla destroying a city than put, Jake over there in a rubber suit. And people complain, but they for whatever reason they won't give them the actual explanation, which is usually money, or the people that are in charge of the whole thing, they're not fans of what they're buying, or they've never read what they're buying. It's like, okay, we're going to buy this series, and it's like, okay, hey, look, it's got a popular fan base. Have you ever watched a second of it, sir? No, but it makes money, so we'll just make it and toss it to this director who has a similar idea, but not quite what the anime has. So we'll just
Artemis
have her make.
Fowl.
Yeah, we'll have her make
Oh my
the show.
god, did you see the Artemis Fowl movie?
No, I didn't see it. I actually don't have Disney Plus because they cost a lot of money and I'm cheap.
Well, like, the Artemis Fowl series was a bread and butter series of the early 2000s and mid 2000s, where it was a modern Fae adventure in a way. And Hollywood I mean, I understand why the author would want to make a whole bunch of fucking money off Hollywood, sure, because writing books ain't fucking easy or cheap. But I mean, the things that Hollywood does to things is just astounding. Because like, Butler Domovoy is a huge, hulking, bald-headed white dude from like the Russian area or wherever the hell it is, with an Irish accent, but still. And then for the movie, they turn him black with a white afro and blue eyes. Like, what is the thought process behind that? Like, for some reason, Hollywood said, let's give the small white rich kid a black manservant. Like, what? Who the fuck? Who came up with that absolute wild fucking idea? Like,
Well, I also understand that they didn't the people with the money at Disney didn't want him to be a bad guy, so they completely changed his motivation.
who?
Because he was
Domovoy?
supposed to be an anti-hero. I think he was an anti-hero for the first few books.
Domovoy was just the butler to Artemis Fowl, and Artemis Fowl himself was kind of like a, not really an anti-hero, but more just like a little evil boy genius in a way, where he wanted to trap the fairies and steal their gold. And then as the books went, as the books went on, he got more and more straight-legged. I want to do good, that kind of thing. But in the beginning, he was kind of a quote-unquote evilish character.
And Disney has to have their tokenism. That's something that they automatically, like, okay, well, we've got this, series, and wait, this is, all these characters are right, or all these characters are white. Like, well, sir, it's set in 13th century Wales.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we need to diversify it.
Well,
It's like,
but in that sense, isn't that kind of tokifying, like, certain races? Like, you're just gonna throw in this random black dude, like, all right, you're now the token black dude of the series. It's like, isn't that kind of demeaning to certain people? Like, why is that a trope?
It's not kinda, it is. Because these people are like, okay, the only reason why that guy's there is because of the color of his skin.
Well, that, and I mean, that's why all about, like, just bankruptcy and just creation. Like, why can't you go the extra mile, like, say, for black dwarves, and create a reason why they're there? He's visiting from a southern hold. He's visiting from a hold in a very sunny fucking place. Or these elves are from a jungle or some shit where it's like super hot, or it's in near, because basically, I mean, Africa has a lot of jungles, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it does, and it's still hot and a lot of sun. Because the biggest thing is all the sun, all the radiation. It's why Vulcan from 40K is onyx black, because there's so much solar radiation on the planet of Nocturne. It's just they want to do the thing, but not make it a good reason why why they're there, and it's not hard to do. I mean, these are Hollywood writers. Why can't they take the extra mile just to do the right thing and not make people tokens? Like you said, tokens. Like, I guess they have, like, I guess it's Hollywood. They have like a checklist. We need this many of that, this many of this, and how are people not offended by that? Like, the fact that you're now a checklist. You're a check mark on a list of things they need. You don't. I get why some folks want representation in movies. Sure, I understand that, but but it shouldn't be a check mark. They should put work and effort into why they're there in the first place. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, well, they did that with what was it, Shadow and Bone on Netflix, which we
Shadow and
almost made
Bone.
all the way through. They had a diverse population, but they explained that there was a lot of nations around. And we watched, we watched like 8 episodes of that. Then we realized that the secondary plot with the thieves was a lot more interesting than the primary plot with the lady who's like the light sorcerer, the light sorcerer and the evil dark sorcerer. He's like, but then you had like the thief that was trying to rob people, and he had his merry band of thieves, and it's like these guys are a lot more interesting than the main character.
But so they explain in that movie or that show why there are multiple colors of persons running around, pretty much.
Yeah. And then I've got my friends from Eastern Europe wondering why nobody in The Witcher had a Slavic accent.
I mean, The Witcher was based on Slavic folklore, wasn't it?
Yeah. In the video game, it was based on Slavic folklore, but there's also heavy amounts of Arthurian folklore. Because, I mean, they do have the Lady in the Lake. The elves, the Elder speech is based heavily off of Welsh.
Wow.
Which I found funny because able to understand what some of they're saying. Of course, it's based on it. It's not actual Welsh. Yeah. They get a lot of the grammar wrong.
A derivative of Welsh.
Yeah, they don't reverse. Just as an example, the Welsh put the adjective after the noun.
But what I can't figure out, and that's what frustrates me and kind of angers me, is that like these people, they're all. I mean, all of us are the color we are for a reason where we came from. If you're white, it's because you're in a place where there's very little fucking sun and you're pale as shit, and there's snow and it's cold and all that. If you're really dark skinned, you're from probably around the equator or where there's lots of sun, lots of heat. Like if I go to like for instance Mexico or like Egypt, I'm going to turn to a red brick of dust and float away into the fucking sunlight because my skin ain't designed to be there. People are the colors they are for environmental reasons. And it's like if they made a show about like an African adventure and they put me in there, I'm gonna look really out of place. I shouldn't be there. It's the same way where like if you're having like a Viking adventure or what have you. I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand why they are intent on being creatively bankrupt and just tokenizing these people. If, for instance, like let's go back to Lord of the Rings. You know, they have black elves and black dwarves. Cool, that's completely fine. But where do they come from? Because they can't be from the same area as everywhere else. I mean, it shows the orcs in the books in the series, and they fucking suffer where they are because you know they're constantly battling with their environment. You know, I just don't get why they couldn't have a good reason as to why she's a hairless female dwarf, because usually they got big burly beards and speak in the same patterns as, you know, male dwarves. It's just, I don't know. It's like they're trying to prettify the series and just completely change things. I mean, they are always prone to changing things. Nothing survives as original form from where it starts, which is already an issue, in my opinion, with most shows.
Well, I mean, there's also, and I'm not the guy that noticed this, but they want them for scenery. They want minorities for scenery, but they don't want stories based around them. So you'll see, like in The Witcher, you walk into a tavern, you'll see 2 black guys. So there's 2 guys in this town out of 100, but you'll never see Geralt walk into a town where it's 2 white guys and the other 90% of the town is black. You know, that's the thing, is it only the tokenism only goes one way.
Like, it's one of those things where, like, dare I say, most of the white or Asian fans of a certain series, we don't care if there are black people there. We don't care because it's just don't make them just like you said, scenery. Don't just put them there because you have to have them.
Stop making it obvious.
It is obvious. And it's just, I mean, they can make a good story without trying to push an agenda. I mean, they can do that. I mean, like, if you're going to spend $1 billion on a portion of a book, why not go full bore? I mean, like, I'm sure there's clauses where they can't create an entire like new clan or whatever have it, but you can probably like find a slot for them and give them lore, give them background. There's nothing wrong with doing the work.
Well, I think what there's like 50% of the characters so far that they've introduced in the Amazon are like new original characters. So they're making most of this stuff out of whole cloth.
Hmm.
But you know, the Tolkien fans are purists. That's the whole point of Tolkien. Like I've seen debates between Tolkien people where they were arguing over I think 12 miles in the total distance between two towns. And it was like a scholarly debate. This was not people yelling at each other. These were people pointing out facts to each other based on page numbers that apparently they've memorized.
Yeah. I mean, you see some things where there are black fans who are like, yeah, we're being seen. I'm like, but like for all we know, if these are major characters who have background and lore, good on them for doing the work. But if they're not, it's just another token character. And I don't want to see token. No one wants to see tokenized characters. We want to see a character who's there with a reason and a background. Like because you see it go back and forth. Like there are black fans saying I'm being tokenized, other fans saying I'm being realized, I'm being seen, I'm being put in the movie. But it's like, don't you want to be put in the movie for a good reason, for a real reason? Because God forbid we go in the show and this black princess, this black hobbit are like wall art, like they get like, here's your 5 minutes of screen time and you're gone, because that would just prove our point, wouldn't it?
Well, from like working in the D&D setting I work in, people want to see their culture represented in a way that it's fleshed out and that they're presented as awesome. Like if you want a D&D example, what was it? Dragonlance, the blacksmith that forges the dragon lances.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a black guy with like a mechanical silver arm or some magical silver arm. And he's black, but he's an amazing character. He's fleshed out. He's not there to, just like, hi, I'm here to, change the palette in the background. And he's one of the best loved characters in the setting. And that's one thing people don't get is like, you just can't change the color of someone and then make it better, because
you mean like race swapping?
Yeah, you don't want to just race swap. You want to give them a background. You want to make them believable. You can't take. I mean, if even changing certain elements of people of the same type, completely changes the character. I'm from Texas. Okay, I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant from Texas. My experience is going to be completely different from somebody from New York City or from Los Angeles or from Minnesota. All you're doing is changing our home city, but you're changing our entire life experience. If you're going to, because if you start to, from a writing point of view, you have to make the character believable. If you walk into a town and there's like 2 black people, okay, where did they come from? Like where did their parents come from? Is there like a neighborhood of them? I don't know, but there are the or when there is Disney has a real problem with making a group suspiciously one of each. There was a cartoon a long time ago, I think it was The Noble Family, where all of her friends, there was one Hispanic friend, one Asian friend, one Hawaiian friend, one white friend, one black friend.
A dude in a wheelchair, yeah, the usual thing.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, let's play the odds of, let's run the odds here, and there's like I've got a lot of Polynesian friends for somehow, but I don't have. But they're a very small portion of my total friend base because they're just not numerous where I live. To have somebody with one of each is not very common, and it becomes obvious, and eventually it becomes insulting.
Like, I mean, if you go and watch some of the people on YouTube, there's a lot of black content creators on YouTube reacting to this thing, And they're always fucking, like, there are a few who are like, yay, question mark, but some that are just angry about it because it seems like they just can't help it be like constantly marginalized and tokenized by, you know, like Disney or Hollywood or Netflix or now I guess Amazon Prime Video.
Well,
like
they want to include a black character, but they don't want to include a black story because they think that that's going to limit the market. They want it to be as watered down as possible because that's what we've settled for.
It would make more sense to have a black character and their, like, or like you said, black story. Like this princess, I just hope for the sake of just good writing, they give her a reason of where she came from. Like, if she is born and raised in the same hold as, like, Durin and all that, it's gonna make no fucking sense. It's not. Like just for sake, like, speaking of, like, just of, like, biology and science, if she's living in that mine 24/7, where it's at, because it's in the fucking snowy ass mountains, she's gonna be vitamin D, like a vitamin D fucking deficient. She's gonna have all these, like, problems because there's not enough fucking sun. Like, it's just, I hope for the sake of the characters, because these could be slam dunk characters for all we fucking know. We don't know anything about them yet. But I just hope they did the work and the writing on them, because if they didn't, it's just going to propagate the problem with tokenizing minorities in shows. Like remember in Thor how the gatekeeper they race swap for some reason. Like despite
it was Idris Elba. He probably just showed up in costume and they assumed he was already hired.
I guess, but like it's like Viking folklore. Imagine for a minute if he made like a white Black Panther. Like, imagine if that what happened if we took like a Southern African white dude and boom, he's Black Panther now. Like, they would not go for that. There'd be an outrage in the streets. Like, I just don't get it. Don't race swap things. Don't inject and tokenize minorities. Just make a good story. Write a story behind the person. Don't just shove them in there. I don't know, man.
Well, people will appreciate quality. That's the thing. It's something that Hollywood, I guess, doesn't understand, or the game designers. People will appreciate quality. We love well-made stories, no matter where it's set.
Yeah. You could have an all-black Hobbit like story, and I would dig the shit out of it if it's written well. Like,
you want to, Blade. They're talking about, Blade.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes. That was a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And like, people still talk about it today because it was, well, for one thing, they took a huge gamble.
Yeah. Well, I think he's been the only black vampire so far in movie history, hasn't he?
Blackula?
Oh, you're right. My apologies.
Okay,
there is
he
Blackula.
was one of the first straight-laced, because there was also Eddie Murphy was in a vampire movie.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he
was. He really? Hold on.
Yes, he was. Vampire in Brooklyn.
No shit. So, well,
talk about it.
I guess we could say that Blade was the first like non what do you want to call it, spoof black vampire.
Yeah, well, Blade was a lot of different things, but it was from a it was from a black point of view, because he was in his site, he was going to different people, and but it was an R-rated superhero movie. Yeah. It showed blood,
bisections.
He was not he was not afraid to cuss.
Yeah.
And we loved it.
The
third movie was a train wreck, but we loved the first one. And the second one was even better regarded than the first.
It's hard to follow a movie that hits as hard as like a good first movie hits. You got to try and follow that same wave, and it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But like people trying to say like all these Lord of the Rings guys are racist. No, we want good writing. Like if they did like an all black Lord of the Rings adventure and it was well written, I'd be happy for it. I'd be watching that shit. Believe you me, because it doesn't matter what color you are. It matters how good the writing is and whether or not you're actually a character in the show. Because like you said before, a lot of times these black characters are just wall art.
Yeah, but I mean, people love quality. You look at good movies like Crazy Rich Asians, fantastic movie, made a lot of money. A lot of the stuff by Robert Rodriguez, Desperado, even Spy Kids, that made a lot of money. And that was, that was a Hispanic family.
Mm.
People will go and see the good stuff and they will ignore the bad stuff. If you dumb it down for them, they won't go see it. If you give us engaging characters, if you give us people that we can relate to, because despite the colors, people can have the same kind of life experiences. We know what it is to struggle. So that is some of the things that they're afraid of it, because they look at the numbers, they look at the focus groups, and they shy away from it.
I just wish folks understand that reason why people get so mad over this stuff is because they're basically just doing it it's just to do it,
We know when we're being pandered to.
Yeah,
we know when.
I know for sure when Black fans and Asian fans and Latino fans, they definitely know when they're being pandered to. I can guarantee that.
It's like people. Oh, what was it? Somebody was telling me, it's like, well, you don't know what it's like to be, to be stereotyped like that. And it's like, I'm a Texan. Okay.
Have you seen King of the Hill?
Yeah. Have you, find me a Texan that is not either a racist, a buffoon, or,
or like missing teeth, or like they're all about guns.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're just a, backwoods redneck. Heck, have you ever been to Texas? And that's, yeah, we know when, I know what it is like to be stereotyped, because, like I said, my race in or my little culture group here in Hollywood, my state, is pretty much a cartoon for them. You're not going to find, yeah.
In real life too, in a lot of ways.
And but we're all they think that what was it? We still they still think we ride horses and stuff like that. Yeah. There was an obscure British movie. It wasn't that great, but it was like a zombie movie, and one of the guys was from Fort Worth, and they find a rifle and they don't know how to use it because they're all British. So they take the rifle to the guy, and they're like, Charles, can you tell us about this rifle? And just talk about how Texans are portrayed, and this guy's like a claims adjuster. And he's like wearing a suit, and he's got his glasses on and stuff like that. And he's like, why are you asking me? Well, you're a Texan. It's like, just because I'm a Texan does not make me a trigger-happy gun nut. I don't ride a horse to work. I don't have an oil rig in my backyard. I'm, I'm not John Wayne. And they're like, all right, we're terribly sorry for, stereotyping you, but can you tell us anything about this rifle? So he takes the rifle, and he's like, it's a replica Winchester 1878. He's like, the sights are off. He's looking at the gun. He's like, the sights are off 3 degrees to the left. He smells it. And he goes, it was last fired 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And there's 8 rounds loaded, judging by the weight. See, all the people that we saw that scene, we laughed because that is our stereotype.
I just saw one post where it says, "Sigh, we can have Asian, African, and European elves, but can't give Disa a magnificent beard. What's wrong with the princess being bearded?" Like it seems like they're split on like, why isn't she bearded? Like people a lot of folks want a hairy African queen, man. It's kind of funny.
Oh, I had I did a voiceover for a cartoon once, where it was a dwarf screaming about clean-shaven maidens and how they disgust him. Like, you couldn't handle a woman with a real beard. Like, you haven't experienced true passion until a woman's French braided your back hair in the middle of sex.
Like, I mean, it would have been actually kind of cool if they actually gave her a big old beard too, because this is the first female dwarf we've seen in live action ever. Yeah.
No, I think there was in the D&D movie, but we don't talk about that one.
I mean, Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, Lord of the Rings. I believe so.
I don't know. See, I have high hopes that perhaps they did the writing, but like
they did have some in The Hobbit, but they didn't have speaking roles.
Yeah, but like,
and then Gawain opened up his locket to show.
Oh, that's right. That's my wife
with the full flowing beard.
Yeah. Who's this, your brother? That's my wife.
See, it would be better if they had voiced her with Mr. T. That would have been like cherry on top.
But I just hope the writing's good because I'm just tired of, all these movies and shows being just like this whole point of the thing is creatively bankrupt and pandering, because it's such a trope at this point. It really is.
Well, for me, it's when you notice that they have an idea for a different story. They can't sell that story, so they're going to take another story and change it to make it more like theirs, but keep the name.
Well, what I don't get is like they could have saved all the money and just done their own, like just, hey, can you have rights to the franchise and the lore? Cool, thanks. And they make their own thing. Like, why not go full bore on black elves and black dwarves and just make your own Lord of the Rings story?
One, because, well, that one's easy because the Tolkien estate won't allow it. It has to be from the books. You have to buy the rights to something from the books.
Okay, but like at the same time, why couldn't they just make their own? I mean, not make Lord of the Rings. Just go full D&D. We want, like, say black fans. We say we want black elves, we want black dwarves, we want black halflings. They could have just made their own D&D adventure, couldn't they?
Yeah, but good luck getting that approved by Netflix, because they're going to look at it and say that this is a niche for a particular ethnicity, and we don't think that's going to sell.
White people love Blade. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Because people forgot about Blade. That's why when they came out with the Black Panther, everybody was like going, it's like it's the first black Marvel superhero, and then come all the people putting the GIF up of Wesley Snipes going, "Motherfucker, are you out of your goddamn mind?"
Yeah. But I mean, there was so much, like, just like if you back away from Lord of the Rings, wipe it away, look at it from a character design point, this would have been a fucking smashing fucking D&D adventure, dude. Like they have these halflings with like these big old stag horns on their back, fucking awesome concept. But I mean, why not make it your own? Why have to piggyback off these? Because when you piggyback off of a franchise or a big name, you're gonna piss off all the fucking fans because there's an inline thing with that story. Or I don't know.
You want well, a lot of the time, like, again, I think like the Halo was somebody else had a self-insert character or a fanfic character, and they didn't want to tell the story of John Spartan. Or whatever, this John or the Master Chief.
Yeah, Master Chief.
So they don't want to do John Spartan. That's Demolition Man.
That is, yes, John Spartan. That's Sylvester Stallone's character.
Yeah, so they
Teddy bear.
They might have a problem with, it's like the power armor guys are too expensive to film, so they got to do a secondary character, but they don't want to say that.
I mean, just come out with it. Like, hey, we can't really afford to do this, and it's really hard doing live action. We're going to try and pan away towards a minor character, which is, I did that in one of my books. Section 222 is on a minor character playing along in the big scheme of things. You can do it, just be open about it,
Or just grab a periphery and say, okay, we're having to move away where we have the rights to this. It's like they had like a killer trailer for ODST.
The older trailer,
with like the Hungarian guy going through all the stuff.
Yeah, which was that was dope as shit.
Yeah, it's like, do that. Don't you leave Master Chief out completely.
Yeah, just completely remove
it. You make a new character and you make it familiar enough. Yeah, you're going to lose fans because they want to see Master Chief shoot bad guys.
Yeah. It's why you kind of plop it in every once in a while, like, boom, Master Chief. Oh, shit, and builds that hype,
And then you kind of leak it out that the reason why you can't use Master Chief is because filming Spartan armor is going to blow the budget for the season in about 10 minutes.
Kind of like Transformers.
Yes. Yeah. And they didn't tell you why they didn't have a lot of Transformers in the Transformers movies for the longest, until somebody finally broke down and says, because we can't afford it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff is, like, these people that put stuff together, they don't listen to fans, they listen to accountants. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Actually, there's a show on YouTube a channel called Toy Galaxy, where he was talking about today, just a few hours ago, he was talking about the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle movies.
Oh, yeah.
Where-
The old live action ones, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he said they got and it's talking about, okay, so we've got like a $6 million budget, and they're like, we need to, okay, so we need to hire everybody, and we need to get the suits made, and they went to Jim Henson because they wanted to do it right, and if you needed animatronic stuff or puppet stuff, you go to Jim Henson, and he was the first guy they went to, and 30 minutes after meeting Jim Henson, they spent all $6 million just on hiring Jim Henson. Because that's how much it was going to cost to operate the turtle suits. You want to make groundbreaking technology to make your film look good, it's going to cost you a lot. And this is like 1990s money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a lot
And
more.
so they had to
like
go back and ask for more money, and eventually they got fired for asking for too much money. And a lot of the restrictions that they have, or why they have to go away from stuff, is because of the budget. And some of the changes they have is some actors are criticism proof, where you can cast them as anything. Idris Elba is a great example. Tilda Swinton, Gary Oldman could play a couch and probably get an Oscar nomination.
Probably, yeah. I mean, Gary Oldman is like a quintessential actor in most fucking everything, really. I mean, well, there's some folks. There are folks who know his face, and it's all they know. They know Gary Oldman's face from all the things he's done. And Gary Oldman for me is basically the Fifth Element. Like for me, that's peak Gary Oldman right there.
Oh, as a joke, me and some friends rewrote 12 Angry Men just using Gary Oldman characters.
I mean,
because he's got that many iconic different characters.
Well, that he has the range. I mean, he played Sirius in Harry Potter. He played.
He's been Sid Vicious. He's been Beethoven. He's been
a vampire. He's been
Dracula. He's been Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Commissioner Gordon. I'm trying to think of all of the different characters. He was the Russian bad guy in Air Force One.
Who's the
professional?
The deformed guy who's like in a wheelchair in one of the horror movies.
Yeah, in Hannibal.
Thank you, Hannibal. Yes.
And of course, his infamous line from The Professional, like, "Get me everyone." What do you mean, everyone? Everyone.
That is like the best meme you can use for everything. Like, you mean all the friends? All of them.
Yeah, it's like, so you can cast these guys. Willem Dafoe's another one. It's like he just shows up. It's like, okay, you got the part.
Just take the lines. Go over there.
Yeah. They were joking about what was the movie he was with, The Great Wall, where people were upset because they'd cast white people in a Chinese movie, and then the director said, "No, we wanted like big name actors because the Chinese people love American actors too."
Mm.
And it's like, well, what about Willem Dafoe? Like, we just showed up one sign said action. He started talking, and I looked over at the producer and said, "I'm glad you hired this guy." And he's like, "I thought you hired him." So yeah, I don't have a problem with race flipping certain actors because Denzel Washington, I mean, he's playing Macbeth. He's playing Macbeth, and he got an Oscar nomination for it.
Yeah, but at least the least they could do is at least make it make sense in some way. But even then, I mean, what's the one that's called Hamilton? That's on one of the Broadway productions. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing because it's a play, but.
And they just flip everything.
Yeah. But at the same time, they flip everybody, which is interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a difference between flipping a character and casting an actor that can play anything.
Mm.
And you're not going to get... Yeah. You don't want to race flip, or they have this obsession with, there's one channel that keeps track of the ginger side.
The ginger side?
Oh, you haven't heard about the ginger side? For whatever reason, Hollywood has, not just Hollywood, but television too, has a habit of race flipping redheads.
Oh, you mean like Ariel in Little Mermaid?
Ariel Little Orphan Annie. Although I think that was an entire race flip, so they just like, okay, now everybody in Little Orphan Annie is black. A lot of the superhero characters went from like Heimdall was played by Idris Elba.
And then also, I guess Starfire would have been better as like a more like butternut colored flesh, but who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, she's an alien. You paint her orange. She's not a
or whatever.
human. She's not a human tone.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a site that was keeping track of the ginger site. I think it was up to 72 characters now.
Would you consider Butler Domovoy ginger? I don't know. That's hard to
He's
tell.
Irish, even though Domovoy is a Slavic creature.
And he's bald, so who really knows, really?
Yeah, he might be a former ginger.
Yeah, and also another redhead would be Domovoy's sister. Hold on, Butler, because I believe in the movie they're both very swapped. Because in a book, Butler's got a little sister with like long red braid, Juliet Butler. I believe she was also a redhead race swap, so you're up and over there probably.
There's a couple of sites. One of them, and there's more than a couple sites, and they're all run by redheads, and they keep track of it because there's a lot of reasons why there's so many redheaded superheroes. There's actually a physical reason why there's so many redheaded superheroes, and so they're disproportionate in the comic books because dark hair uses more ink.
Oh yeah. Oh, so it's well like a economical reason.
Yeah, in the 40s to the 60s, there's not a lot of like Wonder Woman is the outlier because there's not a lot of women with flowing black hair in comic books from the Golden Age because
That's so expensive.
It used more ink and it cost more.
See, I wonder what like a black fan of Artemis Fowl thought when they saw Domovoy Butler as a black dude with blue eyes and a white afro. I wonder what they thought when they saw that. Like, were they happy or outraged? Like, or when they see these characters back and forth get turned around, I always wonder what they think because I don't think anyone's asking them. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I do know that the Artemis Fowl bombed hard because they changed it so far from the base that the fans didn't care. And that's something, you can't change something too far from its original base or else you lose what people liked in the beginning.
Well, it's kind of like bread dough. If you stretch it too far, holes start appearing. You can only pull it so far to cover certain areas. You can't pull this dough all the way out or it just falls apart. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there's the new He-Man just introduced a bunch of Asian characters by introducing an entire new region.
Which is not the proper way to do it.
Yes, it is.
Give a region, give some writing, give some effort. I mean, He-Man in general's had a rocky start because of all the storytelling they had going on there, but I mean, if they take the time to create a whole region, a backstory that doesn't tokify that particular skin color, race, or culture, know what I mean?
And what I mean, like the new He-Man, the Kevin Smith He-Man, which was so
eh?
And that's the thing is, if he had written one that was about Tila and was honest with us, they would have watched it.
Well, they called it She-Man, not He-Man. And if they wanted a Tila story, then write a fucking Tila story. You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings. Just be honest with it.
Yeah, if they had come out with the story and said, Tila, like He-Man's off saving, the universe over here. We need somebody to do this right now.
Or like, who's taking care of the home base when He-Man's off fighting for the universe? Who takes care of the little man? It'd be her, and that could be her whole shtick.
And people would have jumped to see it. It's like, okay, we got the, and you can just tell them it's like, or like why they explained why he had a different chest plate, because they didn't have the rights to it. They didn't have the right to the He-Man chest plate in the new cartoon. Yeah, that's why they had to change it. That's the one thing that people don't realize is a lot of these, I learned this from reviewing my RPGs, when you license stuff, a lot of the iconography and a lot of the little minor details are separate licenses.
That's kind of annoying.
If you want to use Klingons from Star Trek, the Klingons from the TV shows or the Next Generation and all of that, they cost extra.
Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, It's
It's a way to dick people out more.
yeah. Oh, Paramount's notorious for it. When the what was the Task Force Games bought the rights to the Starfleet game, they were told what they couldn't use. They couldn't use like Captain Kirk. They couldn't mention Kirk at all. They couldn't mention a lot of the different stuff because that costs extra. It's you have to buy everything a la carte.
Yeah, that's why it always seems it's all about fucking money. It's not about the creation anymore. It's all about the money. So basically, it's like Mr. Krabs making movies. Money. I need all the money. There's no just creating anymore. And I think like they could have done it here with Lord of the Rings. Make this huge, or even or whoever was making this. Amazon could have said we're gonna make an all black fantasy adventure, and they could have created something new that's their own. I mean, remember how Bright, the movie Bright off Netflix, there was a whole fresh creation, and it was good. It was new. It was dare I say original in a way. They could have done it. Well,
A lot of people saw it as somebody wanted to do Shadowrun but didn't have the license.
but even then, they still made it happen. They still did the thing. And it's just a shame that Amazon's doing this cop out. Like, it'd be cool to see an all black dwarven hold. They could have done something original that no one would have had any like access point to because it wasn't all original. But they decided just to go lukewarm, have some token black characters, and call it a day. And it's just I don't know.
And again, the Lord of the Rings sounds a lot like they bought as much as they could. But like the people have said, they only have the rights to 153 pages from the Silmarillion.
Which is just weird as fuck, dude.
Yeah, but it's Tolkien, so they have to. They have a lot of holes they got to patch up. They're gonna have to create a lot of characters, and again, I don't see this going continuously with a story for 5 seasons.
It should have gone for 2 seasons, if not just 1 season, and then play it by ear from there.
Or make a 2-hour movie, quote unquote, as a pilot to see how people respond.
Perhaps.
Because that's what Bright comes across it was a pilot.
Yeah. Or you can, God forbid, make something original using just a general fantasy setting. They could have done that. Save them a whole bunch of fucking money off licensing. They could have spent all that money on licensing to make their all black character adventure, and they didn't do that. Instead, they're just trying to piggyback off Lord of the Rings, I guess, just for the name, if anything, because they only bought so many odd fucking pages. I mean,
it was Amazon was trying to steal the thunder from Netflix and all the rest, and
they're trying to pick up for the up that they made with
So they're gonna try and beat Netflix by marginalizing people. Neat.
Well, no, they saw all of the they saw that Netflix was getting all this cool stuff, so they were going to try to they need a flagship show, and they said, hey, we'll do Lord of the Rings because now we're bigger, but you got to do it right.
Well, if you're gonna try and get that particular thing going, try and get a flagship show, you gotta play it by the book, literally by the book. You gotta keep it where all the fans are gonna be able to support your shit. Like, because whether like it or not, the last 9 movies, where the fuck it is, has set a precedent. It really has. It's set a precedent on how the world's gonna look. And now you're gonna shove your dick in the mix and try to make it different. It's not gonna go well, one way or the other, unless the writing is superb. That's the thing that this all hinges on. And if you had this good writing, why not do your own thing?
But they're taking it from the Silmarillion, which doesn't really have a plot.
Like you said, it's a Bible, or like a fucking like a lore book. Like, here's how this happened.
Everybody saw all the money that Game of Thrones was making before season 5.
Well, I believe that Silmarillion wasn't even finished by Tolkien. His son had to finish it, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So it's not even fully done by its creators. It was kind of like rapidly finished by his son. And
he did write the Silmarillion, but he didn't finish it by putting everything in order. His son basically, he took all the notes and he put them in order. and that's how it came about. Kind of like how they salvaged Dune when Herbert died in the making of it.
Like, it's one of those things where, like, no, shit, I just had it in my head. Oh, yeah. People want to say that, yada, yada, all the fans are racist. They're not. They just, there's an expectation of what it is. And once you break that mold so harshly without good writing, it's going to seem like it's literally shoehorned in there. And I guarantee that all these white fans wouldn't have minded an all-black adventure if it wasn't Lord of the Rings, or at least well-written Lord of the Rings, wasn't Silmarillion, or was original. I mean, why not? If these companies want all this black representation, why not make an all-black adventure and give them the characters they want and the story they deserve? Why half-ass it?
Well, and that's the thing is, if again you make something really good, people will forgive you if you have a little deviation from canon. There's an excellent example of that with you've seen Dredd, I take.
Yeah, I've seen Dredd.
Okay, the Carl Urban one, where in the comic book Anderson is about Dredd's age, and she's not a rookie and all of this. But the movie was so good that it was so action packed and you could follow it, and the pacing was
very
amazing.
Yeah,
like we didn't care. It's like Dredd, and it didn't even have a complicated plot.
Not
Because
really.
it didn't need a complicated plot. It's like, Dredd, here's your rookie, here's your case, go fight crime.
That's literally what it was, though. It was literally like a buddy cop adventure, but with like no plot whatsoever. It's like, here's a base overline what it is. Off you go.
Yeah, you have to get to the boss, and there's going to be a lot of people shooting at you in the process.
And drugs.
Yeah, and it worked great. So if you stick to it and you make minor changes for whatever reason, if it's good, people will like it. They will forgive you. They will want more. If you change it too far and
break it.
yeah, you change it too far, then people are like, I don't. What is this? This is just the name of something.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why there's so much debate over Starship Troopers. Because
Verhoeven,
yeah, Verhoeven had not read the book, and he had an idea for a movie, and he couldn't sell that movie, so he bought the rights to Starship Troopers, changed some names, and came up with an entirely different one.
He changed the entire everything. Like this, they used mechs in that thing, and the bugs had guns and talked and walked around. But we're at an hour and 7 minutes. Holy shit! So I think we'll just go and peter down now. And closing statements is that I think that as long as if the writing's good, it should smooth over things. If it's not, if they just go like this full cut, they're just there, it's not going to please anybody. It's really not. Like,
hope for the best and plan for the worst.
Really, that's all you can do is hope for the best. Hope that they did really good writing, that they have reasons why all these things exist, why they're there, where they traveled from, background cultures. They may have done the work. If they didn't, it's going to be shoehorned in, illogical, and just pandering. And I just hope for their sakes, they're not going to piss off the largest fan base on planet Earth besides the Bible.
And a lot of these decisions are from the top down, and the directors don't have anything to do with it. It's like the bean counters say that we need X, Y, and Z.
Which has to be hell on those fucking directors. Like, oh fuck, I gotta make the ship sail and not sink.
Well, it's like classic example was the Wild Wild West, where they were told that they had to have a giant robotic spider.
And they fucking smashed it though, didn't they?
And it was Will Smith's first flop. But it was like this, the guy that produced it had this obsession with giant robotic spiders, and he wanted it in he originally wanted it in another movie. I can't remember what it was. It was completely out of place in the first movie.
Yeah.
It really wasn't in place in Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of decisions that come down from the top down,
from on
which
high.
Can wreck a movie. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but Sam Raimi spiked Spider-Man 3 by giving them exactly what he was told to write. And he's like, well, he's like, he wanted to do the Vulture, and he's like, okay, well, he's too old, so we need another character. It's like, okay, what about Sandman? And it's like, I'll drop the Vulture. And he's like, okay, well, I'll drop this guy. He's like, no, keep them all in. It's like, and you need to add this guy because you need to add Venom because he's popular. Like, you want me to put 3 villains in a Spider-Man movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is gonna suck. Well, this is what we want. Okay, this is what you got. This movie sucks. Warned you.
Like, if they spend the first season of the show explaining shit, that wouldn't be a bad thing, because Lord of the Ring guys love lore anyway. I mean, it could be a huge lore drop for the first season. But like you said, we'll hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
You just don't want too much of a lore drop, because if it's just people sitting on couches and talking, that's how you get Attack of the Clones.
I liked Attack of the Clones.
Did you count the number of couch scenes?
I'm just saying, I like the action bits. The action bits I liked.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of action bits, and there's an awful lot of couch scenes.
All right. So I think we'll go ahead and call it here, Welch. Anything you want to say before we head out?
If you guys actually want to watch a good He-Man cartoon, look up Tila, Her Eyes Open. My daughter voiced Tila in that one.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny. It's also like only 5 minutes long.
Okay. And I'll be sure to drop your YouTube page in the link below. But all right, guys, until we see you next time on this side of the veil, this has been Garbro. This was Welch, and we'll see you next time.